Okay, just another video. I said that I would go back and explain the hallucinations, so that's where this will come in. The hallucinations started a few days, I'd say probably on a Wednesday. I still wasn't sleeping all that well, but I was laying in bed and had the fan going because I was laying next to the heat register and it was too hot, too cold, couldn't make up my mind. And I started hearing things and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. It was the radio station that was playing. And I know over there towards the airport somebody plays the radio, but it's not loud enough to hear it inside the house. That radio is always going at night, all night long. In fact, I can't even hear it out in my camper. But I was laying in bed and I realized it was coming out of my fan. I have a Lasco pedestal stand. It stands about 18 inches tall and it rotates back and forth, a couple different settings. And the station was coming out of there. But the station was out of, it sounded like it was out of Ladysmith or somewhere in that area. And I could hear, and the music was really funny because it was things you wouldn't normally hear on the radio and words you wouldn't normally hear on the radio. But I listened to it anyways, and on and off I would fall asleep and I would dream about this, and it was a big sale at this grocery store, and I went there and I wasn't impressed with anything, and I have no idea how I got there. And I was walking away and some girl started talking to me and we were talking, but she was walking on the other side of these hedges, so she was talking to me, and then all of a sudden she was gone when we got to this playground, and I don't know where she went. And later I woke up and had kind of forgotten all about it, and didn't remember it till later. And then that Friday when I was cleaning, I had mentioned spiders, and these spiders would kind of link together, arms and legs, and they'd roll into what looked like chicken wire. And I tried vacuuming them, and when I was pulling the vacuum it was fine, but when I was pushing it against these spiders that were like mashing into the carpet, it was getting really tough to push it. And I don't know if that was part of the hallucination, or if I was just hitting really rough spots in the carpet, or if I had the vacuum cleaner too low. But it seemed like the more I vacuumed up, the more spiders would come, and finally it just got to be too many. I couldn't handle it. And I ran outside. I left the vacuum in the living room. I ran outside and I ended up slipping and falling down some of the stairs, and I took my dog out to the camper and we stayed out there, and come back later, after calling, well, we went out to the car first, and then I come in and I grabbed the phone book and I ran back outside. We were sitting in the car and it was March, so it was cold, and all I had on was shorts and a t-shirt and my shoes, no socks or anything like that, no jacket, no hat, and we were in the car. So I started the car up, but I could feel the car slipping backwards, like the transmission was slipping, and I held the brake and it was fine, and I let go of the brake and I could feel it slip. So then I thought something was wrong with the transmission, so I shut the car off and we went out in the camper for a while, and I ran my propane heater out there, and it got it up to about 45 degrees, and we took a nap in my Sub-Zero sleeping bag, military bag, and I got no phone call from the exterminators on anything when they were supposed to come out. And when I come back to the house to get my stuff to leave, Um, they were already here with all the gear on and stuff, like I had said. You know, they were wearing camouflage. I don't know what the hell they were hiding from. They had face masks on in the tanks, and you know, so do not enter. So I came in and I grabbed. I don't remember what I grabbed, and I left right away. And put stopped at the gas station, got some gas, put in transmission fluid, and then I was driving up north, and that's when these vehicles were coming on and off the road. And this one truck that come on the road, it was a semi, and it transformed into a full stand-up semi on roller skates. The back tandem axles were actually roller skates, and this thing was spinning around and doing goofy stuff, and I didn't think anything of it really, other than it looked really cool. And there were other vehicles, there were pickup trucks and stuff that were playing the same game, you know, with the balls on the end of the string, trying to attach them to the antennas and stuff like that. And then there was the whole incident of the moose coming out of the ditch, and that moose didn't exist. And I got to Walmart and I had to refill my phone card, and I told my brother about this, and he didn't say anything about it, but he thought it seemed awful strange, the things I was describing. I got to the friend's house, which is now my fiance, and was my girlfriend previous to that, and we were trying to patch things up, and my children were there, and we had supper, and everything was fine again, and I had mentioned some of the things that I'd seen, and she didn't say anything, which made it seem even more normal. And I was seeing Halloween decorations in her house, and being projected on the trees and outside and on our windows, and you know, I mentioned a little early for Halloween decorations, isn't it? And we were going through that, and you know, her plants were moving and they were waving at me and stuff, and you know, they looked like mechanical plants, and I was just kind of going along with it. And she had little like army men and stuff on the floor, and she was able to make them move by pulling a string, and none of this stuff was actually real. None of it happened whatsoever, but in my mind it all happened. And also on the way there, I had stopped at another gas station, and I was on the phone, and I got done with the phone, and I had a message. While I was listening to the message, I got done with it, and I could hear my brother's messages on his phone. And then I could hear my mother's messages, so I was hearing all kinds of messages on my phone that weren't on my phone. They were actually on my brother's and my mother's phone, which is not possible. My mind was just making these messages up, and that was just another portion, but it seemed perfectly normal. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It was just, you know, seemed like kind of a strange day that, you know, all this would happen in one day, but I guess I took it in stride, and I kept going, and you know, we had our supper, I played with the kids, and it's time to go to bed. The water was dripping on my forehead, and so I went in to tell her, and I saw two men and another man, or another woman, in bed with her. When the only person in bed with her was my 3-year-old son, and I kind of lost it, and I got really pissed, and I was getting ready to leave, and I went to grab my coat, and my coat was wet. I'm like, why is my coat wet? And she's like, your coat's not wet. I was like, oh, what's this stuff in here? And I'm going through my wallet, and it just seemed like there's a lot of extra stuff and extra money and weapons in my wallet, and none of it was mine. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I went to leave, and when I walked out, the lights were off, and I missed the last step. Luckily, I caught myself. I went to my car, I started it up, and I thought, I better not drive. Something just doesn't seem right. I can't drive. I'm going to end up hurting somebody. Something's going to happen. So I dialed 911. while I'm waiting for the cops or the ambulance to show up, people are vandalizing my car. They're busting up my taillights and, you know, throwing pieces of my taillights in front of my car, and they're writing all over all over my car with these markers and stuff, and they had already, you know, vandalized it pretty good on the inside, and they had been in it, and there was apparently weapons in the car, which I don't carry any weapons with me. And they were trying to push my car while I was holding the brake, and I was pushing it harder and harder. And I was pushing it so hard, I was pushing my seat backwards. I have an electric seat. And I heard somebody say, you know, well, just cut his brake lines. Because the first thing I did was I pulled the brake, emergency brake. And then I was holding the brake pedal as well. And while all this was happening, people were lining up at the neighbor's house in chairs